have to disclose that. You know, it's those little tiny things that just make the process easier. So always have a secure email with FDA. The process may take quite a bit of time, unfortunately. You know, these are specific, you know, actually they send you back. They actually hire, FDA doesn't have internal IT people do this. They hire another group, I think it's an IBM group to do this. But again, key takeaway, secure your email with FDA, okay? For pre-IND submissions, again, so that was device part. For drug submissions, drug device combination products, again, auto-injectors, inhalers, those type of products. There's a little bit of a difference with devices. When you submit your request for pre-submission, you submit the request with all that information, that package, calling the briefing package or the meeting package, along with your questions at once. In the drug space, it's a little bit different. You can submit your request with your questions and then promise FDA you're going to send them your backup information 30 days prior to the meeting. Okay? That's the only little key difference there. So, although you don't have to be ready for a 510K, right, before doing a pre-sub, because otherwise what would be the point? The more you can make your pre-sub look like a 510K, think about it like a 510K light, the better. Why do you think that is? Anybody? Why do you think you want to make your pre-sub look as much like a 510K as possible? Again, not the extensive data, extensive information, but formatting, structure, information.
You're trying to condition the FDA. You want them to think of the answer that you want them to come up with. This is one of those subtle, this is the droid they're looking for, right? So you want to get them thinking, oh, wow, this really looks like a 510K. It's subtle, but that's really the intent behind it.
Yeah.
Art, there's art to it.
They're used to seeing it, right? They're used to seeing that information. If you all of a sudden deviate and don't do a device description, which actually is an explicit requirement, but let's say you called it product overview, and then you start putting in stuff there that doesn't belong there per the guidance, they're going to be like, what is this? I don't know what this is. They're humans, right? They want to see standardization. So we'll go over some tips and tricks on how to make this happen. The first one is to just follow the pre-sub content that's required, okay? So we talked a lot about what a pre-sub is, so now we're really going to get into what actually goes into one. So this is what goes into one, okay? A lot of boilerplate stuff in the beginning. So cover sheet, cover letter. You'd be surprised at how important that cover letter is though. And we'll go through an example there as well. Device description, table of contents, indications for use / intended use, previous discussions or submissions, overview of product development, specific questions, which is the key point of this whole thing, right? That's really the most important part of this entire content packet. And then method of feedback and preferred dates if you're doing, you know, in-person or teleconference. So this is what the pre-sub actually looks like, okay? So cover sheet, first part, cover sheet and letter. So the cover sheet and letter, there is no formal format for it, right? There's some guidance on what should be included there, but has anybody ever submitted a 510K or seen a 510K? So at the very beginning, there's this form, 3514, right? That basically it's like a 510K identification form. It's a CDRH cover sheet for submissions, not just for 510Ks.
Oh.
And that's great.
And this is what it looks like. Oh, there we go.
And that's what it looks like. It's blank. No, so for CDER, for CEDAR, when you're doing a drug application for a drug device combination product, there's form 1571, which is kind of the same thing. It's for INDs. So this cover sheet, right, it's not a mandate. So if you go home now and you do a pre-sub, you don't have to use Form 3514. But again, going back to what John was saying, triggering things that reviewers are familiar with, you could use that as your cover page to say, to signal, this is not a submission, but this is a pre-submission. And there's actually a category right here, if you look at